The scientist who performed illegal gene editing on 3 children has been released from prison. And he is back in the lab. If you're not familiar with the story, this is He Jiankui. And in 2018, he announced that he had performed genetic editing on humans. 3 children were conceived through in vitro fertilization, and he edited the genes in the children without the consent of the mothers and obviously without the consent of the children. The genes that were edited were ones that would provide immunity, or at least resistance, to HIV. He used the CRISPR-Cas system, which is a form of gene editing that is used in all kinds of research. It takes part of a system that bacteria use to fight viruses. We implement a very specific sequence designed to cut at a specific location, and from there, we can insert the gene that we want. He ended up being tried for his crimes and spent 3 years in prison and had to pay a pretty hefty fine. The identities of the children are being kept private for obvious reasons, but there's a lot of issues with this. Aside from consent, I'm not necessarily against gene editing, but the people involved have to be able to say yes, they want it. And quite clearly, children are not able to give that consent prior to birth. We also don't know the consequences of editing these genes. We may think that something does one thing, but it could have several more effects downstream on other genes, good or bad in the long term. You can't just be editing people's DNA like that.